We recently tested 8 lightweight electric dirt bikes to find out which one is best. The Talaria Sting R came in second, and the Surron Light BX came in fourth. At the end of that video, we posed the question, if you modify these bikes, is the outcome still the same? Well, that's what we're doing today. We're taking the two bikes with the most potential for upgrades, the Surron and the Talaria, to see if they become more competitive once we upgrade them. And one of you is going to win this fully modified Stage 3 Surron Light BX. So be sure to check the description or go to electriccyclerider.com to find out how you can win this bike. Now let's start with Stage 1. These are the mandatory upgrades that we recommend most of our customers do. And if you're looking for these same parts, we'll list everything in the description. The Warp 9 direct mount bar clamp moves the handlebars forward and taller than stock to open up the cockpit of the bike. We're also adding the Warp 9 stem lock to ensure our headset stays tight and secure. We're pairing that with the Warp 9 3-inch rise handlebars to help get some extra height in the front. And to top those off, we're adding some ODI Ruffian grips. Next, we're doing a super important upgrade, adding the E-Moto specific Tusk ground wire E-Moto tires and the Tusk 2mm tubes. These tires were developed specifically for the stock 1919 E-Moto rim size, and they are hands down the best tire that you can get, especially for the rear wheel on these lightweight E-Motos. We're running the Galfer e-bike brake pads to improve stopping power and longevity compared to the stock brake pads. And the Warp 9 E-Moto foot pegs to help get some better grip and a more comfortable stance on the bike. To add some acceleration into these bikes, we're running the 54-tooth Warp 9 sprocket and the EK 420 chain cut to the appropriate length, which is hands down our favorite chain to run on these bikes. To keep these batteries from rattling, we fitted both bikes with an air wedge in the battery compartment. And it wouldn't be complete without our ECR 180 decals graphic kits. Alright, it's about time to ride these bikes and see how they feel.
It really is amazing what these Stage 1 upgrades do to this bike. Ergonomics are better, grip is better, braking's better, acceleration's better. It's just mandatory for this bike. The bar clamp and the bars make a huge difference. Pegs, you can actually feel like you're planted to the bike. Tires have way more grip, and you're getting that extra acceleration from the bigger sprocket. The stock bike is super fun, don't get me wrong, but it can just be so much better with just a little bit of help. And this thing's actually ripping through here. It's pretty awesome. The big realization is how much I think this fork is superior to everything else on stock bikes right now. This thing, especially off-road, really feels good in comparison to the other stock forks. I am a sucker for a front end, and this is definitely the best of the bunch.
Now, let's get out on the Surron.
Right away I can tell that the power's much better, but it's still not on the Talaria level, which is to be expected because Talaria is putting out more power. Ergonomics much better, but the bike does feel quite a bit smaller than the Talaria still. This bike is lighter, snappier, and definitely more nimble. Woo-hoo-hoo! Which honestly makes this thing super fun to ride in its own regard, because it is like the lightest, smallest bike. You feel like you're just ripping a mountain bike around. And man, these tires are so much better. So much better. You just hold it wide open and just hold on. It's super fun that way. So for like a single track off-road bike, mountain e-moto, or I should say mountain lightweight e-moto, still giving the tip of the hat for the Talaria. But with that being said, if you like kind of like bunny hopping and skipping around, popping off of stuff, this bike does that, I would say, the best. Don't get me wrong, Talaria and E-Ride Pro are still super light on the whole grand scheme of things, but this bike is really light.
Next, we put ECR test rider Jet Underwood on the Stage 1 bikes to see what he thinks.
This one has more power. It does feel a little bit more upright, like jumping in the air. It's easier to just keep it up in the air, more level. And just a little bit better handling, but super close compared to the other one. This thing feels great. Feels like it's all set up perfectly, nice and even. I was expecting it to be a little down on power, honestly, out of the box, but way better than the stock setup. It really changes the whole handling. Out of the box, it felt like they're a little front end heavy. This thing feels great. Feels like it's all set up perfectly, nice and even, and feels just like a BMX bike. Overall, first impression, this thing's sick.
It's clear that the Stage 1 upgrades made these bikes way better, so we're going to take it another step further and do some Stage 2 mods. We did the ECR spec full suspension revalve and tune with our partners at Applied Technologies to get the fork and shock working better. Then we added the Warp 9 1916 wheel set with Bridgestone X30 tires to get better tire grip and, of course, complete the look, because these bikes look sick. And to level up the stopping power, we have the brand new Formula E Moto brakes. These are 4-piston calipers designed to use .4 fluid with moto-style adjustable levers. We put some laps down, and it was immediately clear that the suspension tunes really leveled the bikes up and gave us much more confidence, especially on the mini moto track.
So I could never get the drive to make that double.
Yeah.
Now you can. That definitely feels way more stable than this.
Traction to me felt the same, but I agree, this thing feels more stable. But on this track, I feel faster on this, and I think you're faster on this too.
Yeah, I was curious. Yeah.
The Fast Ace fork feels like it has a lot more range to it, meaning that the window of opportunity to make it better is large. But we were all surprised that the stock KKE suspension on the Surron feels like it can handle much bigger hits now. Despite the Talaria being the faster bike on paper, all of us were actually putting down faster lap times on the Lightbee on the track, because it's lighter, more nimble, and we could pretty much just hold the bike wide open and ride it harder. It just goes to show you that power isn't everything, so to not judge a bike completely on its power output. The Surron really shines in its nimbleness, and it's noticeable how much easier it is to initiate a turn on the Lightbee and keep it turned, whereas the Talaria feels bigger and more stable overall. We agreed that if given the option, we would pick the Talaria for riding off-road single track, due to its ability to soak up choppy terrain better. But if it were a mini moto track or a dirt jump track, we'd likely lean more towards the Surron. For a lot of riders, simply going for the ECR suspension tune or buying the ECR Fast Ace upgraded fork and shock will be a massive upgrade. But if you want the ultra premium suspension, then you've got to go for the EXT Faro and the EXT Arma shock. We're running the drop crown fork on both of these bikes, which allows us to adjust the front end height. And to complete the look, we added Guts racing seats to both of these bikes. This is probably where you're beginning to wonder if we're doing power upgrades in Stage 3, and we are not. We want to see how these bikes do without adding the weight and complexity, so we're leaving the power upgrades alone. The EXT suspension upgrades are a huge benefit for both bikes. They make each bike feel more confident and stable. Both bikes improve the same amount from these suspension upgrades, making it more of a lateral improvement when comparing both bikes against each other. The results after riding Stage 3 were similar to Stage 2, in that we all agreed that the Light B is the better bike for riding these mini-moto tracks, especially hard pack tracks and dirt jumps, or anything of that nature. On the flip side, the Talaria feels better suited for any rougher tracks, bigger riders, or off-road single track. Even though stock for stock, the Talaria beat out the Surron in our shootout test, all of us agreed that if we had to walk away with one of these bikes, much to all of our surprise, it would be the Stage 3 modified Light B. So do these bikes get better with the modifications we did? Very much so. These bikes are still no comparison for the E-Ride Pro when it comes to power output, but when you look at the full package, they're a massive improvement over stock. And although we all want a little bit more power out of the Surron, this test made it clear to us that power isn't everything. Now for the important part. You can win this fully modified Surron Light B X by going to electriccyclerider.com or clicking the links in the description. Leave us a comment, let us know what you think, and thanks for watching.